This episode is brought to you by Sable International, building futures beyond borders.
Today on the Relocated South African podcast, the guest is James Fouché, talking to us from Xinjiang in China. James is a crime author, screenwriter. He says he's a silly daddy, coffee snob, wine buff, and passionate traveler. Over the last few years, James has created and wrote a crime TV drama series and completed his master's degree in creative writing. He's the author of Grey, Jack Hanger, and King of Sorrow, and his work explores themes of revenge, morality, and human emotion. Welcome, James.
Hey, Jan. Good to have me here. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
It's lucky to have you on the show. First question, please explain to us where is, I'm not going to say it properly, but Xinjiang city in China, relative to what we know, Beijing and Shanghai.
Okay, so you get it's called Xinjiang. So the XI sound has got a sh sound to it. So Xinjiang. Xinjiang is central China, but not completely center. It's about 500 or 600 kilometers away from Beijing and about 800-900 away from Shanghai. Beijing would be a little bit more north and a little bit more east from us. And Hong Kong would be south, and Shanghai would be completely east. So we are really much slip bang sort of in the center of China. Give or take a couple of 100 kilometers. But I think also people might know Zhengzhou. Zhengzhou is the capital of the Henan province, and Xinjiang is one of the cities in the Henan province. And Zhengzhou, which is the capital, is about an hour and a half by car and about 20 minutes by train. 30 minutes by train.
And how far are you from the famous Wuhan?
Wuhan. Well, it's not nearly that famous. I think the world has got a very much a perception of Wuhan. Yeah, they don't really give a crap. They just carried on with it. Wuhan would be somewhere more closer towards the coast, but a little bit more inland. I might be mistaken about the location, but it's more or less what I remember when I was looking for it. It's apparently a quite beautiful place. I haven't been there yet.
One of the biggest headaches in any relocation journey is the documents. Getting your South African police clearance, your apostille certificate, your unabridged records. Apostille handles all of that on your behalf. They apply, follow up, and courier everything directly to you, wherever in the world you are. No queues, no government buildings. All the details are in the description below. Click through and get your documents sorted. James, so let's go back. Where did you grow up, study, and how did you get to live in China?
Okay, so I grew up in Cape Town, basically born and bred, and Cape Townian, always been Cape Townian. Then I met my beautiful wife, and we moved up to George, which is maybe not far removed from Cape Town, but a good 500 k's away along the coast. Beautiful, beautiful place. And traveled around a bit throughout South Africa. I had some businesses, and then eventually I published my first novel, 2010. And then in 2014, I published my second novel. After my second novel, I realized that there were some things that were sort of empty in my life, and I wanted to fulfill those empty things. And one of them was to have a degree. So I did my master's degree through Rhodes University. It's a master's in creative writing. And also during that time, we also had 3 kids. Now, if there's anything that'll put a pause to your life, your writing life, your creative life, it is having 3 kids. I quite often joke that this is the same that happened to Shakespeare. They call it Shakespeare's missing years. They met a lovely girl. They moved to the countryside. They had 3 kids. and he was missing from the creative world for like about 7 years. I can totally understand that, and I've got sympathy. And it was a beautiful time of our life. And then I released my third novel just now recently, in 2025, the end of 2025, around about December. So you can say 2026. That was the first book in about 12 years. So big, long wait in between. And in that time of change, in that time of growth and trying to find myself, I think a bit more, I I've always been passionate about uh, teaching or learning. I'm an autodidact, so I love teaching myself new things. I mean, I love that gray area where teaching and learning uh, sort of the one takes over from the other if you're doing it to yourself. You know, do you teach yourself or do you learn yourself? So I I've always enjoyed that. And then I did TEFL courses, and I started slowly but surely giving courses online, teaching people about writing English. And before long, I found myself in China, and now I'm very happy to bring the kids here and show them this amazing part of life that is beyond South Africa, beyond the little world that we sometimes get stuck in or box ourselves into. So I'm very much excited to bring them this side and to show them this country here.
Wow, that's amazing. So you haven't lived abroad before. This is kind of the first time.
Not really lived abroad. I've traveled around a little bit, but I mean this is my first time working. I think specifically working on site in another country. I've worked for international companies uh, where we've had contingents in America, South America, Philippines, all over, but I've never been on site in another country earning a living. So this is my first trip. It was
Okay.
a reconnaissance mission, if you will. And I've been working in China online since about 2020 when COVID came around. So it's been a long time coming. I said to my wife, there's a lot of things I want to wrap up. I wanted the kids to get to a certain age. They are at that age now. I have, I said to her also, I want to just release my next book. Release the next book. The kids are the right age where all three kids are being homeschooled. We can up and leave tomorrow. So the timing is right.
Yeah, perfect. So before we get to life in China, I just have to explore a few questions on the writing side. The idea of becoming a crime writer, and obviously the last book, Grey, is very much about crime and gangsterism. How did that come about?
I think I've always enjoyed a good story. I think most writers will always come down to the actual story. But uh, as a vehicle, I think being a South African and sort of as a South African having crime very much present on our doorstep, and sometimes it's part and parcel of South African life. I guess it's always sort of been, not in a negative sense. I mean, each country has got their own problems. But I mean, it's just always been there on the tip of our tongues. And that has been my motivation to try and take, the things that we perceive to be our burdensome reality and to rather add a story to it, to unpack something that people can really enjoy, and to do that while using characters that has got some meat, hopefully. I always try to write characters that's got substance. So it's not just the empty hero doing, something spectacular, but something real, something that people can connect with, and maybe gets people to ask some questions about life and themselves. That would be my main aim.
Okay, and have you guys been exposed to crime yourselves in South Africa?
Well, I mean, I think yes, I have. I mean, I own businesses in Cape Town where occasionally, some of them would be, we had instances where we've been, um, tried, someone tried to rob us in the business. We've had customers that were, shot just around the corner from us. Little things like that. It's always there. I've had cars being broken into, houses being burgled. These things are, it is there. I think we just had a very interesting discussion on LinkedIn with some people about this survey that they did about the perceived danger that you have within a country or a city. So I always joke about that, and I think it's clear people misconstrue the two. Danger and violent aren't necessarily the same thing. Where the one could lead to the other, they don't necessarily mean the same thing. As a consequence, I believe that as a country, South Africa is very dangerous, though it's not maybe always so violent. Um, but I think I was more intrigued by the crime aspect of it all, telling the story. So crime is more telling the story about danger and crime, danger and violence. Sorry, packaging everything in a crime story gives us the opportunity to sort of sprinkle a little bit of fantasy dust and to string a couple of characters along and to have a nice conclusion at the end, or a horrible conclusion, if you will. And I think that's what always fascinated me. So yes, taking the real things, taking the newspaper headlines, taking the things that maybe happen to us as a family or those that I know, and somehow squeezing it into a story was the ultimate goal.
Excellent. Yeah, I guess, part of the reason why I started the podcast was I always felt that, people, the things that go on Facebook are the pretty stories. People never tell the real story. And I always said that this is about storytelling and hearing people's real experiences of traveling and so on, and moving abroad. And unfortunately, in every story about immigration, there's a push and a pull factor. A lot of people get moved because of job opportunities. Like in your case, other people feel that they have to leave because they've been exposed to terrible things, and they don't want to go back. So it's quite an emotive subject. I've just had a 22-second reel by a lady that I interviewed who's gone back to Cape Town, and I've now had 144,000 views and hundreds of comments, both positive and negative, about why people are leaving and they won't go back and so on. But ultimately, as you say, it's about a story, and it's a reality that we live with. James, let's get to China. Has the move to China affected the release of your book in any way, or the promotion, or is it going well?
I think yes, it did. I was initially going to come over, I think around about September. That was pushed back. And when it was pushed back, I said to my wife, I need to release the book. I mean, I can't wait. I was going to do it in 2026 when I get back. Now I'm only going in 2026 and I can't delay it anymore. The story of Gray wanted to be set free. I could not hang on to it any longer. So it was a rush sort of release. Ultimately, it is still a book. It needs time on the shelves. And also the reality is it's not going to be earning a living. So, I get, you get like 10 Rand a book if you're lucky, which is a horrible truth, but I mean, it is what it is. We're not doing this for money unless you are that one big, lucky book that comes through and you sell multiple millions. You're not really it's not a retirement thing. So, I'm just happy that the book is out there. It's turning over slowly as it normally does. And as far as interviews and marketing and things are concerned, it can all be done from here, I guess.
Yeah,
You don't need to be there
absolutely.
in person. It would be nice to do book signings in person, but the reality is no one ever pitches up for them. So, you get maybe 3 or 4 ladies that come to visit you. Um, I say ladies because for some other reason, guys just don't go to book signings anymore. I don't think they think it's maybe uncool or something.
I'm sure
It's
it's
very
uncool
sad.
for them. Yeah.
No, it's very sad. It's very sad. I love connecting with people and talking about reading and writing and sometimes just talking about life in general. And all that entire experience is gone. So it's done all online, I think maybe. So no, the book is running its course. I think it will go on as long as it can. And hopefully I'll release the 4th book within the next couple of months to a year. Um, and then after that, I think I'll just take a little bit of a break.
Awesome. Let's talk about China. How difficult is it to adapt to living in China?
Um, well, especially in Shenzhen, it's very difficult because they don't speak a lick of English here. It's very limited. You're talking about an entirely different world. Um, I think I've done enough visiting around or reading around or researching to know that China really is a world on its own. And even more so if you go more central China. So if you go to the coastal areas like Shanghai and Qingdao, the Guangdong area, Hong Kong, you'll get a lot. You'll be exposed to a lot of English. You'll still pick up a lot of English about. It's big international sort of tourism areas. Maybe even in Beijing, being the mm, sort of political heart of China. There has to be some international presence. But as soon as you go a little bit to the outskirts, you're lost. I mean, it's translation apps. It is everybody's stuck on their phones. It is a lot of moving parts, little scooters left and right, cars that only hiss when they come past. They're all electric. So you've got to really look very quickly, otherwise you'll get knocked over. It's a lot of, no, there's a lot of, there was a lot of things to get used to. It was a sudden adjustment.
Mm, mm. And the family, are they coping well?
My family is not here yet. They are already,
They,
they're basically getting ready.
oh, I
They're on their
see.
way. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So,
So,
so
so
you,
this
you're
was
the
a
explorer.
reconnaissance, a raw reconnaissance mission.
Okay. So when are they expected to arrive?
Hopefully around about July or August. So if all goes well, I'll be starting a new position around about August, and then they will be joining as well. So they're finishing up their school because I've got all 3 kids homeschooled. We want to try and finish their school year by August so that when they move, schooling is a very distant concern in that time of adjustment. And
Okay.
they're also training themselves up with a bit of Chinese as well.
Wow. That's amazing. So that's something to really look forward to. Living there by yourself, just, it must be quite lonely.
It is quite, there's 1 or 2 teachers that you can speak with that can maybe understand some English, either from Pakistan but at the end of the day, it really is annoying when you are trying to have very sincere, decent conversation with someone and it's get lost in the apps while you're busy translating it. So I have tried very hard to try and get some of the Chinese words in, but I mean that's a slow going process in between teaching classes. It is it is very difficult. I think that the Chinese language makes it very difficult for English speaking people because you've got to unlearn English um more than learning a new language. So The Chinese language in itself is actually very easy. You would, for instance, say, I drink coffee, or you would say, I drank coffee, or I am drinking coffee, or I will be drinking coffee. And these are all, they're exactly the same. They're written and they are um, sort of spoken the exact same way. Um, and for us, that would mean like 5 or 6 different things. Yeah, it's just I drink coffee, and that's it. So the language is actually supposed to be much easier. It's supposed to be more simplified. And I think it's difficult for us because we would like to have future tense. We would like to have past tense. We would like to have, yeah, they would just say, I drink coffee.
Yeah, yeah. And so your experience of teaching them, I mean, obviously my sense is that Chinese people are eager to learn. Is that right? And how difficult or easy is it to teach them?
I think at the moment it's a very big difference in a couple of years. So literally in about a span of about 3 or 4 years, there would be a big difference. So you would have the eldest, let's say you are teaching someone that has been maybe um, in university for a couple of years already. They would be more. Um, they would not really be worried about picking up English. But then you just go a couple of years back, like 3 or 4 years back, and then you start realizing that they have been, just in that 3 or 4 years, they've been exposed to a lot more English. They are much more excited. They are much more open to speaking English or to learning English. And I think that is very noticeable. Yeah, I think that's something that I really picked up on.
Okay. And in terms of food, James, how are you adapting to the food there? I believe, as you were saying, in China, in Beijing and Shanghai, it's much more Western, and it's there's a bit of everything. But what is it like where you are?
I think you've got a lot of Chinese dishes, and it's not impossible to get used to them. It's actually quite nice. I've, I've, I would say I've almost been overeating in the beginning. I had um, a raw exposure to all the new things like your mushrooms and different types of noodles that they have, the soups, rice dishes. I was quite quickly exposed to that, and then you sort of find your own comfort zone. The things that you do like. So, for instance, they've got this. You have something that they call a um, I've forgotten the name now. But it's like a Chinese pizza, but they fold it over as a wrap. And inside this, you would have an egg and a strip of bacon, maybe, or a sausage. And it's got this very spicy paste that they put over it. And that's their breakfast or their lunch. And you get used to the flavor, I think.
And I know you're a coffee snob. What about coffee there?
Sadly, in Shenzhen, there are about 3 or 4 businesses that serve really good coffee, and they all belong to the same restaurateur. So I don't have much hope for the other places. So my coffee snobbery has led me to one place in Shenzhen. The one place's name is Wuti Coffee. Which Wuti is the name, if I understand it correctly, for a poem that has got no title. It's a titleless poem. So the business's name is called Titleless Coffee. I thought that was quite a fantastic place. The barista there, I very quickly learned how to ask for my own coffee. 我想熬白咖啡. So that is a flat white coffee. I was able to master that. And then I realized that not many people know what an Alipay coffee is because they don't do that style of coffee here really. So when I found a barista that understands what it is and can make it, that's where I went every morning. And that's how I found this place. And then lo and behold, I found a second place that does the same coffee. And here in comes Nicole, the owner. And I say to her, what are you doing here? She says, this is my place. I say, so both places that do good coffee belong to you. She says, yes, she owns the third place. So I go to the third place and they make good coffee there. So I was very, very happy to realize that she had picked up the coffee craze in Shanghai. She got trained in Shanghai, and she's a big coffee and wine lover, and she's really brought it to Shenzhen. I think she's leading the coffee scene with regards to that. When I compare her coffee to other people here, and yeah, she's hopefully going to open some more places, and pretty soon, in the next 5 years or so, you come here, maybe there will be a coffee craze.
Excellent. And I know you also are a writer about wine. Have you explored some of the kind of New World wines? I believe China is quite well known for some New World wines. Is that a possibility there?
Yes, I have had. I speak to a wine master friend of mine quite often about this. They have some absolutely stunning Cabernets here. It's more coming from the north west of China. So, it's more colder, bit more maybe drier there. And they were able to get some really good wines out. I know there's a couple of wineries. The one is called Great Wall Wines. I know, right? Great Wall Wines, and then the other one is oh, Changyu, I think, or something like that. I'm not 100% sure about the name. And that was a very nice Cabernet that they had. So yeah, I've still got lots of exploring to do, but they have some good wines. They also like stocking French wines, so they've got often they have got if you go to any liquor shop or some place where they sell wine, you will see that they've got a lot of French Bordeaux style wines. They like the Bordeaux. Um, it just so happens, here's a little factoid for you. The country rate with the highest red wine consumption in the world, China.
No way. Wow, I didn't know. That's quite interesting. Wow. And James, what's your sense of the cost of living compared to, South Africa coming to China?
Oh, it's a fraction of the cost. A fraction. It's alarmingly so that I've picked up. I think you can live quite comfortably on a very little amount. I think the biggest problem would be if you go coastal, then the rental spikes up. So if you're living in an area that is more a sought after area, then immediately the rental will be quite costly. But even then, the cost of living is reduced quite a lot. And I think it is because the things that fall away are your things like your sauces, your sugar intake, your need to take to buy a lot of chips. So I mean, like crispy chips are extremely, shockingly expensive here. But then you would have cool drinks that are very cheap. Like you would have a 6-pack of beer that'll cost you 10 won. So 10 won, that's like what, 25 rand for a 6-pack of beer. But a pack of chips, like a pack of Lay's chips will cost you 10 won. I mean, the comparison is just, it doesn't make sense. It's weird. It's very weird when you observe it like that, and it takes you time to adjust to the pricing. I mean, it's a supply and demand thing, I guess, and I think it changes from where you are. So if you go coastal, it will obviously change. But if you go more central, then I don't know, it changes. I know, for instance, a flat white coffee is very expensive here. It's between 23 to 35 yuan for a cup of coffee. So that's a good 85 rand, more or less, 80 to 85 rand that you're paying for a cup of coffee. Now that's pretty pricey. But I mean, if you were to eliminate those things, then the cost of living really comes down a lot.
Okay. I believe coffees are, I mean, a cappuccino would cost you a fair whack in South Africa now as well. I haven't been there for 6 years, and you compare it to here, it's about €3, so probably 60 Rand. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I know you are currently teaching at a university, medical university. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. I'm basically just teaching English. I think it's an initiative that I think has come um, in most universities. You would have a internationalization um, that is happening in 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 Chinese universities, and I think that's been coming over the last couple of years to try and bring in an English representation to subjects that they maybe already know. The reason I think for that is because um, specifically if you look at what happens um, in central China, there would not be a big exposure to China, to English. And I think that by bringing in foreign teachers, you get to address the need for that because you would like to have students that are um, sort of at least versed in an international language. Anything, whether it's Latin based or if it's English. But English is such a safer language if you want to at some point set them free into the world. Um, and I think that's going to be the next 5 to 10 years, maybe. But at the end of that, I think China will probably be ruling the world.
Yes. And with that idea in mind, did that make the red tape relatively easy for you to move to China and come and work there?
I think the red tape in China will always be there. I think there's always going to be a very harder approach um, to to entry. I've had assistance with it at least, but I think you will always have that. I think you'll always meet some resistance. I would be surprised if you didn't. I think if you're looking at South Africa's border laws, you see the consequence of a complete slack or a complete completely unenforced well, they're not completely unpoliced, but I mean, you see a completely unrestrained way of allowing people entry into your country. And then you see a very firm grip of restraint. And then you look at the two, and okay, I know they're completely different scenarios, but at the end of the day, it was interesting to see the complete opposites. That's just how it is. So yes, it's always going to be red tape. It's always going to be difficult for people coming to China. You've got to make sure you have all your stuff ready, have your degrees apostilled, have your paperwork ready, get your police clearances done. You do all of those things already ahead of time now. I think it's just good sense.
Mm, mm. Absolutely.
It's not Zimbabwe. You cannot pay at the border for a oopsie that you made. You get turned down.
Mm.
It's the same if you go to Australia. It's the same if you go to China. It's the same if you go anywhere else. We have got a warped sense of this. You can't just quickly drive into Botswana and if there's something wrong, pay your way to get into Zimbabwe. It doesn't work like that in the rest of the world. Um, and I'm not saying it's not supposed to work like that anywhere, but I mean, it's very good not to have a warped sense of the real world out there. Get your stuff ready, get your paperwork ready before you come. If you're coming with kids, make
Absolutely.
sure that you've got your birth certificates, the unabridged or the unabridged birth certificates, meaning that you've got all the stuff that you need, with the parents' details on there as well. Don't do something stupid like, um, you know, be divorced and you take your kid without your wife. No, don't do things like that. Otherwise, the red tape's going to really tackle you no matter where you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I know you're on your own at this stage, so you probably haven't had any exposure to the healthcare services there, or Do you have any sense of how that works?
Well, I can tell you one thing. As far as I've got some sense being in a university where that is the primary focus. It's you know I think we must understand how China has advanced in the last 20, 25 years. It is just they've gone through leaps and bounds. And I I think maybe not yet, but within the very close future, they will be moving into a position where they have got a major authority on being commerce, um, healthcare, all of these very interesting spaces that they're moving into. They're pushing into all of these spaces and then making massive leaps wherever they're pushing into, because they've got support from the government. Like I saw the other day, I read something about Jingzhou, which is in the Henan province that I am in, and they listed there the amount of money that tourism or what the country will be paying towards tourism uh, um, features within this Henan province. And it's astronomical amounts. We cannot possibly fathom that in South Africa. We've got there where they're trying to, they removed Rutenga Junction in Cape Town because it was something that was amiss. They had done some poor planning. Yeah, it's just a process of they'll fix it. They'll throw money at it and they will fix it. And they will get the best and sharpest minds onto it and they will fix it. Or they will completely sweep it and move it somewhere else. And it's that type of reasoning that we can't talk in those terms. I think I always remember I was speaking once to someone from Australia long ago when we were contemplating moving to Australia. And we said, but there's a huge water crisis, at the moment in Australia. I said, yes, but don't worry, we'll just build another dam. And I was quite shocked about, the way that he's talking. He says, it's okay, we'll just build another dam. And they built another dam. And the water issue has been sorted out. We cannot talk like that. We have got the mindset of, oh no, we can't, or oh that, the the shortfall mindset is just, I don't know where it's come from and how it started. I don't know how we're going to break it, honestly.
Mm. No, that's true. Uh, People talk about Chinese efficiency, China's speed, and I know everybody there uses WeChat. Is that right? Is that quite overwhelming what you see?
Well, yeah, it's a complete change. So you've got WeChat and Alipay. Alipay is your main payment platform. It's like um, it's like your banking app connected to all banks and with your um, travel agency poured in there, all your e-commerce platforms, all tied in there. So everything and anything that you want to buy or do um, on an app in South Africa is all bundled into one app as far as e-commerce and banking and payment and things are concerned. That's Alipay. And WeChat also has got the same. Yeah, if you want to drive, for instance, so let's say you've got an app that has got your banking in, and it's got a little bit of Facebook in, and it's got Uber in. So if you want to drive something, you open it up. So there, where we've got Uber, they've got Didi. So your Didi will be built into it as a mini program. They actually call it a mini program, I think, or a mini app. I'm not 100% sure what to, but it's called a mini. So if you open up Alipay, you will get your Didi there. You will press Didi, and it will open up in the Alipay app. It will open up. So that anything is sort of synced. It's all working at the same time. There's no wallets. There's no bank cards. I had to open a bank card and I had this team of Chinese ladies sitting there trying to figure out how to open the bank card because they don't do it often.
That is absolutely amazing. I know it's still relatively early for you. What would you say you're missing the most about South Africa?
I tell you, besides my kids, honestly, because I miss them very much, I think I miss what we had. We had regular nacho nuts. So nacho nuts, you would have your tortilla chips or your Doritos, if you want to, the Pullman's tortilla chip. And then we would have our nacho nights where we would put the cheese over and have your little sausages and everything. The problem in China is that they don't really have cheese. Cheese, for some or other reason, is non-existent. I can't find it anywhere. I think it's because there's no interest in cheese, especially not here where I am. Um, I haven't I haven't spoken much to anyone that has got similar interests, but it seems that cheese is a rare commodity here. So I miss that. I miss South African cheeses.
But I guess with the family still being in South Africa, you've got regular times for calling and making sure that you stay in contact and so on.
Thanks to the advent of technology, I can connect with them every single day. I will often get a message, "Hey, Daddy, it's me. How are you doing?" And then so they just sort of we've got two phones at home that they're using, and then the messages will come through systematically. Yeah, that's it's essential just to keep touch with them. I don't want to lose that touch.
Absolutely. And we are now, it's still early days again, but what is the sort of duration of your stay that you're foreseeing, James? Do you see this as a really long-term thing? Or
Well, it's
what's kind of in,
I, I think at the moment what happens is that it's that like with any other job, it's contract negotiations and things. But if everything goes well, I would probably I don't know what the future is going to hold, but hopefully we've made the decision to come to China for a good 3 years. That's what we've sort of offered ourselves to at least adjust over the next 3 or 4 years. And then from there, we will decide what we want to do. We have got 3 kids, so when we make decisions, it's not always us that makes the decision, just always for ourselves. I think the days of that type of parenting are finished. You need to involve the whole family unit. We sit and discuss it. We decide what will be the best choice for everybody. Right now, everybody is happy to come to China for a couple of years. And from there, we will see what happens. I am, as someone who teaches, um, on English and literature, um, it is for me very easy to connect in any type of country. If it's regarding writing and reading, or just enjoying the English language, I can connect anywhere. So for me, that is, it opens up the whole world for us.
and do you think it's changed your perspective on living in South Africa, even the short time that you've been there?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it does. And I think that's always been the case. So, and, it's having worked in international environments with teams that are global teams and often engaging with people in other countries. This has always been the case. That's why we've always had the motivation to, at some point, take the kids out of this little comfort zone that they have in South Africa. And I mean, look, to some degree, we have got comfort zones. We build our own comfort zone. We make it. And I think in today's world, it's good to uproot yourself from that comfort zone that you've made and to forcefully put yourself into another zone so that you get a clearer picture of the world. I mean, it's a big world out there, and you're doing your kids a lot of harm if you keep them in a tiny triangle. So we really want to get them out of where they are now so that they understand that it's not just South Africa and South Africa's problems. there's an entirely different world out there with its own problems. And in that experience, hopefully we teach them how to communicate and enjoy themselves around different cultures. So there was some thought into that, and I think we're looking forward to that time coming up.
Before we wrap up, if documents are on your to-do list, Apostille handles everything and will courier it directly to you. I've linked Apostille in the description below. Well worth a look at if documents are on your list. Wow, that's excellent. I think that's a great way to maybe end the interview. And I really thank you. If people want to get hold of you or read more, I guess the website www.jamesfouché.com is the best place to find more information.
Yes, absolutely. I can also connect with me on my social media. It's normally at James Fouché Writes, and I love engaging with people, especially people who like to read or write. I am always a sucker for meeting new readers or new writers. I think it's just nice to connect with them. And if people have read my books and would like to comment on it, they're more than welcome to send me their thoughts.
Excellent. James, thank you so much, man. Thanks for sharing your journey. And it's still early in the journey, but your perspectives on living and working there and exposing your family. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And to our listeners, if this episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it with someone who might enjoy the conversation. You can find more episodes of The Relocated South African on your favorite platform or on our website, therelocatedSouthAfrican.com. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.
This episode is brought to you by Sable International, building futures beyond borders.